environmental consultant.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Eric.
So Taylor, are the consultants for the developers, or are they for consultants for OER?
No, for developer. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Great. All right, so let's just wait a couple more minutes to see if some more committee members file in. All right, wait one more minute.
Shiminder.
Yolanda,
Yes.
you're signed in twice.
Oh, I did. I don't know. I'm having issues right now.
Okay.
There's Laura. That's great.
I had a hard time. I was about to do the phone, and finally, my computer fixed itself. So,
All right. Like when
technology is wonderful when it works.
there you go. When it fixes itself, that's Hi, Laura.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
All right. Well, I guess we'll dive in, and hopefully more folks will join us as we move along. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Environmental Protection Committee of Brooklyn Community Board 1. And yeah, tonight we have two items on the agenda. One is dealing with the volunteer cleanup program for 97 North 6th Street, and folks from the city office of environmental remediation here and others to speak about that program, that cleanup program, and field questions and comments from the committee. And then second item will be dealing with the district needs report, discuss making potential suggestions for entries and revisions to that report. And so we'll, as far as the cleanup program goes, OER will present, and then we'll field we'll present questions after that. And then if the committee wants to potentially offer a resolution to the board, we consider that. But first, order of business, I just need to take roll. So let me just get up my attendance sheet here. Okay. Stephen Chesler. I'm here. Eric Mercedes. I think Eric said he would be running late. Corey Canton. Kitty Denny Horowitz. Yolo. Trina McKeever. Janice Peterson. Bella Sable. William Vega.
Here.
Okay. Laura Hoffman.
Here.
Kevin Costa. And we have a new member, Kay Stewart. Unfortunately, I don't think she, do you know, Joanna, if she was on any of, the lists for the meeting notice? I know I neglected to get her in there.
Kia Stewart just became a non-board member to the
Right.
committee. It was literally like 2 days ago, and I did send her the environmental protection meeting notice.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so she had an opportunity. I know 2 days notice is
Right.
right. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, we don't have a quorum, but that's okay. We have enough here to hear the presentation and potentially offer a consensus recommendation. So without further ado, Shaminder, give you the floor to make a presentation.
Thank you. Let me share my screen and go from there. You see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good evening, Steve and everybody else over there. I see some familiar faces. We did presentations about 6-8 months ago on 3 different sites. So good evening, everybody. So I'll go from there. Okay. So basically, I work, my name is Shaminder Chawla. I work for Mayor's Office of Environmental Remediation. I'm Deputy Director there. We work with the city DOH. Usually Maureen attends these meetings. She was unable to attend today. And Mark McIntyre, who is our director for the office, he is also unable to attend today. I have representative from developer David Aries, as well as I have consultant Eric here, environmental consultant to David. So basically, I will explain you a little bit about our office, and then I'll go into this site. Mayor's Office of Environmental Remediation was established back in 2008. We've been working in this office for about 13-14 years. We manage 2 programs for the city. One is the E-designation program, and second is the voluntary cleanup program. E-designation program is like mandatory program. During rezoning, sites get E-designation for hazmat or air or noise quality. And once E is put onto a site, the site has to come to us before they can obtain building permits. Voluntary cleanup program is by the name voluntary. Most of the E-designated sites go into voluntary cleanup program because there are some benefits for going to the voluntary cleanup program. There are no extra requirements. It's a little bit stringent than E program, but it's very similar to that. So under VCP program, we manage low to moderate contaminated sites, brownfield sites. We work with state DEC and state DOH as well as New York City DOH. We brief them on every property that comes through our office. The sites with major issues, sites with environmental issues, or sites which DEC thinks is a significant threat, or sites where there's like off-site issues like groundwater plume is going off-site or soil vapor issue becomes like a bigger problem for the neighborhood, those sites are referred to state, and state manage those sites under the state Superfund program or the state brownfield cleanup program. So basically, today we are going to talk about this site on North 6th Street. The site is a small site in Williamsburg section of the Brooklyn. It is about 3,700 square feet site. As you can see from these two pictures, the site that there's a shutter in front of the site. The site is located in the mixed use residential commercial area. And if you look inside the site, it's like there's like parking lot. It was recently used as a parking lot about 7-8 years ago. Right now it's like there's some debris. So that's what the site looks like as of today. The site will be developed into 2-story commercial building. The white building you see is a rendering for the new building. It's going to be full footprint. There's no landscaped areas. There will be a full cellar underneath the site. Ground floor as well as the second floor, both floors will be used for the retail purposes, and there's a green roof on the top. So the first on the top is basically layout for the cellar. Cellar is going to be used for the storage as well as utilities. First floor, as I said, is going to be retail, and the second floor has retail component and the green roof. So under the voluntary cleanup program, I'll just explain you this right here. The program, we collect historical data, like phase 2 investigations are done. Developer comes to us with the development plans. We design their investigation plan for soil, groundwater, soil vapor. Based on the results, we discuss those results with the development team and their consultant, and the consultant design the remedial action work plan. Once we have remedial action work plan in our hand, we review that. But before we approve, we issue the fact sheet to the community and to the neighborhoods. And that's where we are right now. So we issued the fact sheet about 2 weeks ago for the 30-day comment period. The comment period ends on October 14th, which is in 2 weeks, middle of next month. Once the comment period ends, we are going to prepare a decision document that approves the remedial action work plan, and then they go out and start construction. But before construction is started, we are going to issue another fact sheet to the neighborhood and the community boards, just informing them that the construction is starting now. As of this time, we expect that construction to start sometime in January of next year. So again, the site is in 97 North 6th Street. It is located in Williamsburg area of the Brooklyn. As you can see this from aerial view, the site is like, this is the site area right here. It's like a long lot, and then there's a second lot on the side. I'll show you in a different picture. Right now, there are no buildings over there. And this is again a neighborhood with industry, mixed use industry, commercial and residential area. So they did the historical search for the site property from 87 to 1947. There were 2 residential buildings on this property. Then the property was used as a butcher supply store as well as cigar shop, like retail stores. We could not find any information between 76 and 89. Probably it was continued same thing, but we did not find the information. From 1990s to 2015, it was used as a parking lot, asphalt paved parking lot, and it's been vacant for the last 8-9 years. So in May of this year, PV Eric came to our shop and we designed the investigation work plan. They went out and did the site investigation, which included, first was the geophysical work. They did the magnetometer survey of the property, looked at all the historical things, and they did not find any buried tanks or any structures or USDs underneath the property. They did 5 soil borings, collected lots of soil samples, and the results of the soil sampling showed that there is historic fill extends there like 6 feet below grade. That historic fill might be from the old building which was left over there, or maybe if there was an old basement or cellar, it was filled into the cellar. And not much found in the soil except for some SVOCs detected in like shallow soils. And then there was the metals detected as a lead and barium, a little bit elevated. There was 1 groundwater well installed. Groundwater is about 21 feet deep, and just 1 metal was detected in the groundwater. And soil vapor results were very, very low. There was no chlorine. There was 1 chlorinated compound at low levels, but petroleum compounds were very, very low. So I'll go into more details in the next slides. So basically, this is the site looks like. This is the locations of all the samples we obtained at the site. So this is the soil results. Basically, there were some SVOCs. SVOCs are like PAH like type compounds. They come from asphalt, they come from plastics and everything, and they are widely found everywhere. For barium and lead was found in 2 locations at about 1000 ppm, which is a little bit elevated, but they were in the shallow soils, and that all will be coming out. This is the location of a groundwater.
I'm sorry, that last slide was very small. Can you please enlarge it?
Let me see if I can go back.
Yeah, also, I found if I, on my computer, if I do the full screen view on my computer, it makes it much bigger.
It's not letting me enlarge. Steve has this presentation, and I can provide a presentation with all the results. For
Okay,
some
thank you.
reason,
Yeah, it was sent to all the board members, but yeah, if I encourage the board members, if people online now, if you do in the WebEx menu, do view and full screen, you can get in much closer. Yeah.
okay. And this is for the soil vapor. Soil vapor was basically petroleum compounds were very, very low, up to like 700 microgram per meter cube. There's really no concerns from them. And TCE, like trichloroethylene, was found in 1 location at 7 microgram per meter cube. Standard DOH standard for that is about 2 microgram per meter cube. And that was found right in this location SP4, right at the entrance location. So based upon all these results, we prepared a remedial action work plan with their consultant, and I'll go through that in a second. This work plan has already been reviewed by City DOH as well as New York State DEC. So the remedy will include excavation and vapor barrier as well as a composite concrete slab cover. And there are like community protection elements are built into that plan, and I'll go one by one on all of these elements. So basically excavation for the entire property for the cellar is 11 feet height cellar. There will be about 3 to 4 feet footing. So entire property will be excavated about 15 feet below grade. And there will be elevator pit area will be excavated about 20 feet deep. They estimated total quantity of soil to be removed from the site will be about 2,700 tons, which turns out to be about 140 truck trips. Once the excavation starts, they expect all soil removal work to be completed within 12 days, maybe 15 days. So we are expecting 2 to 3 weeks for excavation work. And basically here you're looking at the light beige area is 15-foot excavation. The dark brown area is where the elevator pit is going to be. That's a 20-foot excavation right there. And this is basically the full property will be vapor barrier as well as concrete slab. So now I'll go just into some pictures showing you from different sites, not from this site because this site hasn't started work. So basically what happens during all the remedial work. First slide, this one showing you like removal of debris or removal, demolition or whatever else is there on that property. So they remove that. Then they start excavating, and then this one showing you some kind of footings, preparing for the footings. So site gets excavated and the soils are removed. There are no tanks were not identified in geophysical as well as in the historical data search. But if there is any tank found, this you can see how the tanks are removed. They will be removed properly, and the tanks will be registered with New York State DEC, and tanks will be disposed of separately by a tank contractor. This yellow thing on the bottom is a vapor barrier installed at the bottom of excavation. These 2 slides are showing the bottom, and the one in the black one here is showing on the side walls. So there will be vapor barrier on the bottom of the excavation going all the way up to the side walls to the street grade. So basically it makes a bathtub over there. So the vapors, we haven't identified any vapor issue here, but if there are any vapors those will be all protected. This is if they need to import any soil material or any kinds of materials, stones or anything, they will get approval from us before they import anything. They will reach out to our project manager and we approve each and every source of the material coming to the site. Okay, so there are many community protection elements built into this remedial action. There's a camp, there is a plan for odors and dust and noise mitigation. There is an inspection, there's a truck route is identified, and I'll show you those things in the next slides. So basically, here you're looking at the blue one is a dust meter, the yellow one is a vapor meter. So there will be a vapor meter and dust meter during construction activities, during excavation work, soil removal work. Somebody will be walking around with a handheld yellow meter going to the excavation area, checking all the vapor issues. And there will be a first slide here. This shows the stationary station. Most of the sites, we have two stations, one upwind and one downwind. This is a small site, so we expect only one stationary station monitoring the site all the time. That will be determined every day in the morning, which is the wind direction. So that will be placed on the downwind side of the. If it's a very dusty day, if it's very dusty, there is somebody is going to be take a hose and spray water on the dust, on the dirt, so that the dust is not blowing around. On the bigger sites, they use a big truck going around and spraying water to control dust. Some sites, there are odor issue comes in, and if the odor issue comes in, they use that like foam spray on the excavation area to control the odors. So these are the slides from different sites I'm showing you. In this site, we expect all the excavated soils will be directly loaded into the trucks, but sometimes they need to like stockpile soil for the next day or stockpile soil for the trucks to come in. If that is required, all the stockpiles will be covered with the polyethylene, and this is just showing you some polyethylene covering so that the dust don't blow out into the neighborhood. Other things, there will be a truck pad made with the gravel over here. When the trucks come in for loading, they will be going through the gravel pad before the trucks leave the site. Their tires are washed so that dust and dirt don't go into the street. If that happens, somebody from the construction team will be going on the street and sweeping it out so that the site is clean. This is a truck route. This is a site here. The trucks will be going to Wyeth Avenue and then taking 5th Street all the way to the BQE. And during all the excavation work, they will be providing us a daily report. And daily report will be, it's a very detailed report for the day's activity, what happened today, how much soil they removed, where the soil went. There will be manifest for the soils coming to us on a daily basis. If some issues arise on the site, they will pick up phone, call us and inform us that the issue happened at the site. And at the end of after the excavation work is done, when they get in the superstructure work, we will switch from daily reports to weekly reports and eventually into the monthly report till the whole project is completed. At the end of the project, they are going to prepare a final report which details everything that happened, and based upon that, we are going to give them notice of satisfaction, which they can take to DOB to get TCO and like occupancy. And this is the same slide I showed you. So at this time, we are in fact sheet 1 stage. We probably will approve their remedial action work plan by like mid of next week, mid of next month after the comment period is over. We plan to issue fact sheet 2 when the construction starts. And then these are the steps I just explained you. At the end, once we finish everything, we are going to issue another fact sheet explaining that all the work at the site is done. Schedule is estimated schedule is about 15 months. They plan to start sometime in January, and then interior work will be done, and they expect to finish the building by March of 24. And these are our contacts for this project. First one is Yolanda. Yolanda is the project manager. Maureen could not make it today, and that's me, Shminder. And then Mark, our director, was not able to attend today. Here's the contact phone numbers for everybody is there. And that's my presentation. I can answer any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I guess, I know, this is a relatively small site, but I guess
Yep.
the way I read the fact sheet, it just seemed, I guess, a higher level of contamination just based, just on the general description. So, but you did mention that in the in the soil, there were, I guess, somewhat elevated level of SVOCs. Is that correct?
Yeah, there were SVOCs detected in the shallow soils. Yes.
Yeah. So, do you suspect that came from, the 20 years that it was a parking lot from?
They could be from anything. They could be from the parking lot. Most of the SVOCs are found in asphalt or some historic fill if the fill is brought onto the
I see.
site. So
Okay.
what happens is probably when they demolish the buildings, I guess most of the time they like fill in the like cellar area, and it
Mhm.
could be from those building SVOs could be anywhere.
I see.
SVOCs are basically byproducts of like burning anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you figure, well, not from burning cigars, I assume, right? Okay. Okay. So I guess, yeah, the one thing that, I guess the main thing that concerns me is just, I guess, the high volume of truck trips that are planned. This is one of the busiest commercial corridors, I guess I'd say, on the north side. A lot of retail going on there and mixed in with residential. So I guess I'm a little concerned about the predicted 12 days of truck traffic. I mean, you said 140 truck trips, so that's, I guess, approximately a little more than 10 a day.
Yeah, about 12. Yeah.
Yeah, a little more. The plan will be for staging the trucks on the days that of excavation, because it's not a very wide street, right? It's
Usually what happens is when the excavation starts, the trucker usually sends 6 trucks at a time or sometimes 4 trucks at a time.
mhm.
And they are staged, they are like coordinated so that the site is not big also, so there probably will be only one truck coming to the site at a time, get filled and leave.
Okay.
So
Because what happens, I guess, in larger sites is just you have a long line of
yeah.
trucks, and it just creates a real hazard for various reasons,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so this site is about 10 to 12 trucks a day. Usually on the larger side, they're like 40 to 60 trucks a day, and that creates a bigger problem with the trucking. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
sites we discussed last time, those 2 sites, like River Avenue, another one, yes,
Mhm.
they had like issue with the trucking, queuing, and everything also. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other trucking related issue I had, I guess, was with the truck route using Fifth Street to get to, I guess, the BQE. This North Fifth Street is not a truck route normally, so I'm just wondering, it might be a little bit longer taking a road that is a legal truck route, and if going down to Metro or I don't know what it would be, but I guess I'm a little worried about, I guess it's half a dozen trucks a day or more, but that concerns me also, that because it's just in general having truck traffic down the residential streets is always been an issue
Mhm.
in this neighborhood. So that concerns me also. Just wondering if I see that's the most direct route, but I just wonder if it's really the safest route for residents and people shopping and working.
Maybe we can explore going 2 more blocks, going to Metropolitan Avenue.
Yeah.
We can look into that. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Okay. All right. Is there any committee members have questions or comments about this project?
Okay, thank you. How I get out of this sharing?
Yeah. So yeah, it does seem, kind of mild compared to some of the other projects that we've had come through, but still I just want to do due diligence considering the location. And I guess how I interpreted the fact sheet, it just looked, I guess, hotter than it actually is. But it seems like following, the standard protocol with the, just with excavation, trucking, and then with the camp. Yeah, just mindful of the, with dust, hosing down
Mhm.
and keeping the piles covered. And yeah, and the vapor barrier, that's, so that's pretty standard. So, all right. So, well, is also anyone who's just from the community who has a question or comment for OER? No? Okay. All right. I guess that's it. So thank you very much for taking the time to come here tonight to talk about this. So,
Sure.
all right.
Thank you.
Can we follow up about the truck route, or what happens with looking at the truck route?
Yeah, good point, Trina. So yeah, I just wondered if you could maybe write back to the board, just if that can be revised.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll look into that, explore that, and then I'll send you email with
Great.
either way, I'll send you email. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Trina. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thank you. And so I guess committee members, I don't know, I'm just feeling like I'd just like to compile just some of the discussion, a short discussion, but just concerns I raised and yeah, follow up on the truck route. To just submit comments to the board. I don't know if people are feeling a resolution here. So yeah, so let's compile the notes, just all the talking points that we had tonight. So moving on to the district needs report as relates to environmental protection. Unfortunately, we're kind of late in the game here, as the capital budget committee is meeting on October 5th to finalize their recommendation as far as, I guess, revisions to the next statement, and then the board will vote on it. I guess it's on the 11th, so it doesn't leave us a whole lot of time, just to have really tonight. But I thought, I don't know if we could potentially come up with something we want to add, but just, in my own, when I was just thinking and researching some areas to talk about, it just feels like I feel like it needs further study. Like, for instance, dealing with, the increasing severity and frequency of cloudburst events, just, really intense periods of rain, like we get inches within an hour, and just how our infrastructure just cannot handle that. We had people trapped in cars in flooded areas, basements just flooded. I mean, so many people had flooded basements during some of those events. And so just looking at how we can either, retool our current infrastructure, storm sewers, et cetera, regrading roads and sidewalks, et cetera, and then our green spaces, just like even just small little triangles and pocket parks and these new plazas that are on the horizon, and then like redoing some of our existing parks with that in mind, and then with the new parks that are in the pipeline, like the remaining 2/3 of Bushwick Inlet Park, and which aren't designed yet. But so that was one of the topics I had thought of. I don't know if people had other areas that they potentially wanted us to focus on. because, one other factor that affects everything, it's just kind of emerged recently. A couple of years ago, the Army Corps of Engineers came up with, I guess, a coastal resiliency plan that involves building seawalls, levees, and floodgates around a lot of the coastal areas within the New York, harbor area. And specifically, Newtown Creek is one of the areas that they're potentially focusing on, creating some massive floodgates, in the mouth of the creek, and then both up on the Hunters Point South coastline and that park, and then all the way down at Greenpoint Landing and Transmitter, constructing some seawalls and levees. And I was just reading some of the pushback in the articles I read, and just saying that, first of all, it's questionable how well they'll work with storm surges and sea level rise, but during those events, it could potentially have a negative effect in terms of, with the CSO flows that flows into the waterways that potentially could flourish behind these systems. And then there's the Newtown Creek Superfund, remediation. This came up, by the way, I joined the Newtown Creek CAG a couple months ago, and I was attending the meetings anyhow, but what's, really frustrating and depressing is you found out the timeline for implementing the remedy was pushed back extensively. And one of the things that's factoring in is the effect of, the groundwater flow. And then they've barely even begun to think about how climate change will affect what they're doing, just in terms of sea level rise and increased storm surges. So so the whole picture of our district is kind of all connected to that. And so I don't know, like within an hour that we can properly make a recommendation to do this, recommend the city invest in our district in that way. I would suggest that, but also the comment period for this coastal resiliency plan is due in January. I was thinking maybe requesting the Army Corps come in and speak about what they're planning for our area. And then we could formulate a response to that, number one. And number two, think about maybe thinking of the next year's district needs statement about really having a, methodically thought out and created, drafted response. Laura?
Yeah, I mean, it's really scary to think that, most of the conversation we had at the CAG, with the agencies are practically word per word what I heard in the late 1990s when we started meeting with people about the issue. So it seems like they haven't moved at all from just like these basic just recommendations. It seems we never get further than recommendations.
Yeah.
Do you think, Steve, it makes sense for them to come to the full board and then the committee to ask? That's Laura, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge deal, so I think it might warrant that. It's an interesting idea. I think Erica, is it Erica? EM? Just guessing. Who's EM?
Hi, everybody. It's Erica and Mom Evelyn. So,
Hi.
so we just wanted to throw this in there in the mix, and we're glad that you brought up the subject because we know the article that you were talking about, the floodgates, and it's really, people really have no concept, but it's a little unnerving to delve into that, because the thing is that water has to go somewhere. And it's a very, very important topic. We all saw and see the bursts, and we live in a very compromised flooding section. So I just want to throw this out there. I've been working on trying to get our sewers cleaned. So I'm going to put Mom on the call for a second, but I'm just going to explain what I did. So the problem is, during Ida and everything, it was really bad. The store on the corner the water, we have pictures, the water came up, the whole cellar from the floor to the sidewalk, it was full with water. It was bad. So we've been working on trying to get the sewer grates clean. So I tried calling 311, blah, blah, blah. You're gonna get through a service rep. Sometimes it was, sometimes it's difficult depending on how the questions that they pose. So I went online and I just did it myself. So I put the notice in. What I did is I attached a Word document with the addresses that need cleaning right on the corner. So, but what I did was I went on the New York City rainfall study. And when you go into that, you see the compromised areas about, the stormwater, and there's a map. And what I did is I took a snippet of our block and on the corner of Nassau and Jewel Street. And I really, really do think that helped me with the 311, because the next day it came in and the truck came in. But we're going to keep working on the project because it's, it's very nerve wracking. But I think you don't hear sometimes a lot from the public, a lot of people happen to them, but it is one topic that we really hope that it takes priority, especially with the weather and everything that we're watching on TV, and we live it. And you really pray every time there's a rain, and it holds you hostage. And it's only to get worse. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But if people haven't checked out the maps, you go in that NYC Rainfall Ready, and then you play around with it, and you hit all these buttons, and you find the maps, and then you see some sections. And we're right in the deep blue. So I'm gonna put Mom on, okay? Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hi, Evelyn.
All right. Back in August, Erica luckily caught the New York City council hearing meeting where the DEP was testifying. So it was a DEP commissioner. And also Laura, the fellow that worked at the plant over here, his name was, the Italian fellow. He came after,
Vinny?
yeah, Vinny. So they were testifying and they were talking about the flooding areas with Ida and blah, 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 different sections. So what they came up with, and I listened to it and I said, we have to get that for our community board. The flooding areas that they have, they're putting them on schedules to clean out their sewer lines and catch basins, like maybe 1 year, 2 year, I guess, depending upon where they are, or 3 years. So really, I think in our community board, and where if you go to that map, it shows you we should really get on a schedule to get us catch basins and sewer lines cleaned out. Years ago, they used to do it more frequently. Now they don't do it at all unless you call in and request it. But during Ida, not only because Willis took pictures and it was on the video and stuff like that, the whole corner was flooded from Jewel, Humboldt, and Nassau. It came up the block. A lot of the basements on this block had 4 feet of water. I mean, it was really bad. And then also on Humboldt and Norman gets very bad flooded. But as you look at the old maps, you see Whale Creek coming up Humboldt. So we really have to do something. And even back in 2007, even on one of those transportation meetings I heard, is where they talked about flooding on Meeker and Morgan. So luckily enough, I keep some of the old stuff. And this was in the Brooklyn paper, the floods of 2007. Morgan Avenue was very flooded. And David Yaski was the council member at the time. And he had a meeting with Joe Lentoul at St. Stan's Auditorium on Newell Street. And people came in and talked about flooding, and even including on Franklin Street. But it's really scary, because even like when they're talking about these floodgates that they want to build, it's a $52 billion project. Where is that water going to go? It's going to come inland.
We're gonna get it, yeah.
And we're going to get it. So really, as you said, Steve, we have to get together and somehow with agencies and give a response for that January 5th, 2023.
Yeah.
Really important. Like even with the flooding back in 2005, I think even we get really flooded here. Even our basement, I had to get a new water heater. I
Mhm.
ended up with major foot reconstruction surgery with the tendon transplant for the big toe, and also I'm very much into concerning and the importance of we have to get help here in Greenpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you, you guys so
Thank
much for,
you. But
you
if
know,
we could get a meeting with the agencies, that'd be great. And
yeah.
invite us too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I see you, William. So yeah, I guess what I'm feeling is that since the comment deadline for the resiliency plan is in
January 5th.
January, that we should try and get the Army Corps and other agencies in as soon as possible, just to hear them talk directly about
Yeah, it's gonna get worse.
how the plan affects our area, and then follow up with the current situation with the flooding, with, from cloudbursts, and potentially have, a hearing and a meeting with DEP and other agencies.
Thank you for bringing it up, though. Thank you.
Oh, no, you're welcome. No, great. William.
Oh, thank you. I remember Ida all too well. That was we were forced to attend an in-person community board meeting, and I'm on the other side of Meeker, so I couldn't prepare my house. So by the time I swam back to where I live, my basement was flooded, and I couldn't even address that because I was called at that time. I was still working with small business services, so I had to help businesses that were impacted with floods. What was very depressing to me, there were certain corridors, commercial corridors, that, well, now it's like 3 years ago, but at that time it was 2 years ago, that DEP and the Department of Construction Design had done the road work to prevent flooding. They were using the formula from previous years. The formula they're relying on is no longer accurate. These areas are flooded continuously, even though they weren't supposed to be flooded with the new redesign. So they really got to do a study, because we cannot use the studies that they used 10 years ago. It's all different now. Number two, the EP is really stretched for resources. Unfortunately, in my neighborhood, we have a lot of car accidents because we don't have proper safety measures for our intersections. And 3 weeks ago, we had a 3-car accident, and they knocked out the fire hydrant. No, it's more than that. Excuse me. 5 weeks ago, and I put in the complaint because the fire hydrant was no longer attached. They came, removed the fire hydrant, but they have not stopped the leakage, and it's been leaking water all this time. I contacted Emily Gallagher's office and etc., and they just don't have the resources or the contractor to do that work. And that's just a simple thing of, but water is precious, and we're losing that every day. I just hope that, Steve, that when we talk about this, they use current data, not data from the past. And that's sometimes the think tanks use data, environmental data, flood zones, all that's changed. All that's changed. I think it has to be done every year, every other 2 years, reevaluated.
Yeah, and one of those articles, they're cross-referencing, they talked about New Orleans, and what's amazing is a few years ago, they finally finished, reestablishing and building those levees after Hurricane Katrina. But apparently they're already not working because sea level rise and subsidence of the land is happening at a much higher rate than they anticipated. So now they have to redo them again. So I just feel like they're making the same mistakes here in New York.
I think we have to, just like when there were businesses that were failing during the pandemic, there were some businesses that weren't sustainable, and that's, people don't want to hear it. Whatever resources we have to put it in businesses that are sustainable. The same thing, we have to really evaluate the areas, and not just Brooklyn, all 5 boroughs, that, you know what, in 10 years, they might be, underwater. Who knows? I mean, it is happening. Well, we thought we had 100 years. Then we thought we had, 25 years. I don't think we have even 5 years. I mean, it is so frightening. That's why a lot of us, fought against National Grid, because we can't wait. All these plans are, getting us away from these fossil fuels, like what, 50, 25 years? We don't got that, We're at risk right now.
Right. Thank you, William. So guys, I'm just thinking about you know, the timing with the Army Corps' plan. You know, that, so January 5th is the deadline. And just thinking of our board meeting cycle, you know, there's a November meeting and a December meeting. And so if we requested the Army Corps come in and speak to the full board, say in November, and then I guess we could potentially meet maybe before Thanksgiving or beginning of December to draft a recommendation that the board could pass in December, could do it that way. I think, Joanna, does that seem, in terms of what we want from the Army Corps, does that seem kind of make sense to, considering the urgency of what they're proposing, have the full board, hear what they have to say and weigh in, but then, our committee will get together and draft a response to get approved in December. Does that sound like something we could propose?
Yeah, but you're gonna have them present at your committee, right? If you're gonna have them present at your committee, that sounds fine. For December, the next board meeting for December will be the 6th.
Okay,
And you
well,
said
so
that-
we'd have to meet, our committee would have to meet right after, either right before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving, assuming that the Army Corps can come in November. So I think maybe we'll explore that. So it would help, I guess, for us to pass a resolution requesting the board invite the Army Corps and other and connected agencies to talk about this
Right.
plan.
Usually what happens is if you want to make a request to invite someone, you just make it to the chair, to Chair Fuller, and
Right.
then it will go to the executive board for them to approve it.
I see. Okay, so why don't we just, put some mustard behind it?
Yes.
I'd like to, make a motion to, send a request to the board chair and the executive committee to invite the Army Corps of Engineers and connected agencies to talk about the coastal resiliency plan as it relates to our district.
I second it, William Vega.
Okay. Let's do a quick roll call. Steve Chesler, yes. Trina McKeever,
Yes.
Laura Hoffman,
Yes,
and William Vega.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Okay. Motion carries. No abstentions or recusals. So, all right. Well, that's great. So yeah, and I guess I think everyone agrees that we're not in a position to weigh in on the district needs right now. And that's something we'll pick up again in next year. And we'll continue the conversation, obviously, in subsequent meetings. But just to confirm, Joanna, if we want to convene our next meeting, it will be somewhere on site somewhere? Or is there potential to still meet online?
That will have to be a conversation with Ms. Fuller.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, so still maybe some flexibility there with remote meetings. So
Yes. Right now we're having our board meeting on the 11th.
right.
And some of the committees are meeting in person. They're meeting at the Swinging 60s Senior Center.
Right.
So far, if you wanted to do that, you just send the request to the community board.
Okay.
Or you could just give me a call and we could check in and see what dates are available. And then I'll check with Jose de Leon if they have any ability.
I see. Okay. Well, all right. Do you guys have the feeling either, you feeling still continuing remote, or are you ready to get in person? I just,
We're a small committee, and
yeah.
and I think it's to re-energize ourselves. It'll be nice to meet in person, especially the issues we're going to be tackling. We need to be on the same page.
Yeah.
It's not just government, but the private sector, like utility companies that are continue to harm our community. So I'm for it.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Is Swinging 60s, Joanna, the only place where we can meet? Is that the only place available for committees?
No, not if you have other suggestions, you can let me know and I could reach out.
Mhm. Yeah,
It could definitely be in other places, but we will have to look and see.
right.
In the
How late
past,
is Greenpoint Library open? I wonder if we could meet in one of their meeting rooms.
I think they're only open late, quote unquote, late one night. I think it's only till 8 o'clock.
Oh.
So have to start the meeting early. There's the McCarran Play Center has some good meeting rooms in the pool building.
Mm-hmm.
And the wastewater treatment plant has sort of a meeting area. I don't know how accessible it would be at night, but it's a little bit out of the way from people in public transportation. So, all right, well, I guess we'll email a little bit just to, there are other, committee members who are not here.
with this, just
sorry.
so you know, with the schools, that's another option, but they usually you have to make the request a month ahead,
Right.
because they need permits in order for us to have meetings there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I had one follow-up issue going into old business was the National Grid. I just first I want to report that they had 4 hearings related to a rate case, essentially a rate hike hearing related to the Greenpoint liquefied natural gas terminal upgrade where they want to add 2 more vaporizers. And so I went there and I just read the resolution that we passed a few years ago, against that. So just reporting that. But
I reiterated it, Steve, on the night that I went.
okay, great.
And-
Okay, power to CB1. Hopefully we'll see if it pays dividends. National Grid, we asked them to come in and talk about their fossil fuel initiatives. And one of them was essentially biogas. We're utilizing, decomposing, waste matter. They talk a lot about manure from dairy cows upstate, but there was some focus on the wastewater treatment plant, which is supposed to be producing this biogas and feeding the distribution here in our district for National Grid years ago. And they made a statement that it would be online last month, and they had already passed 2 deadlines. So I'm just wondering if we request the board, ask them what is the status of the biogas program at that plant, as the last deadline they gave has passed. Are you guys feeling that?
Sure, if we don't ask, they won't tell. They won't volunteer it.
Okay. And okay, so I'd like to make a motion that the board write to National Grid asking them when the biogas distribution program will be going online as the August deadline has passed.
Do you think too, Steve, it makes sense to resend as part of that letter, as an attachment to that letter, the letter from 2020 or whenever it was about the tanks, or do you think it's apples and oranges?
Yeah, because we're just, I think, specific to this issue. Because we had that kind of emergency resolution at the last full board meeting where we took quotes from the resolution to create a press release that Lincoln Ressler and Jennifer Gutierrez was releasing. But I think specific to this topic, because I think we got to see how what plays out in terms of what the Public Service Commission decides on this rate case. Unless, feeling really compelled to get something in there about that.
Steve, if I may, you're talking about the hearings we had with National Grid.
Yep.
Okay. I was at the Williamsburg, and I have to say it, my neighbors, Williamsburg and Greenpoint hammered them.
Okay, wait.
Hammered
Hey,
them.
William, sorry, Can you hold that for 1 sec?
Sure.
I just want to fit. So I made a motion to
Oh, sorry.
request National Grid provide an update on the biogas program at the waste treatment plant. So
Okay, I'll second your
Katrina second, So Steve Chesler, yes. Trina McKeever,
Yes.
William Vega,
Yes.
Laura Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, sorry, William. Okay, so back to the tank hearings.
Yeah, and I apologize. I got a call from my transportation committee meeting, so we had another car accident an hour ago. So
Oh, geez.
it's bad. You know, they got no signage, you know, etc. But I just wanted to share the actual commissioner from Public Service Commission that was there at Williamsburg. Actually, when he was younger, worked at Cooper Housing trying to get some programs to help our neighbors there. And unfortunately, with budget cuts, he actually he's a neighbor. He lives on Richardson. And he told us that nobody in Brooklyn wants this. So I was very hopeful when we had that, you know, that chat outside of everybody. And he remembered everybody's name that spoke. So he was really listening. So again, very helpful. And I'm just proud of our neighbors and Williamsburg that came, and then Greenpoint. I mean, we're strong. And I appreciate everybody like Laura, Steve, Trina. I love you guys. Thank you.
That's great, William. Thank you for that
Likewise.
report.
My understanding, I wasn't able to speak at those hearings, but my understanding is that the written comment have it 13th of November. Is that correct?
Good question. William, do you know?
We'll have to get back to you on that one. Yeah, I was preoccupied because again, I mentioned we had a fatality and an accident earlier in that day, and I was trying to help the family. So
Sorry.
I'll get back to you. I'm in communication with Kim, and I'm sure she has that information.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and so I don't know, is there any other like old business? I know there's, you know, the DEP with NCMEC. I don't know if we want to bug them about that, about refunding that. And
Was a letter ever sent about that?
yeah, and they responded basically saying it's not necessary. You know, we've done we've reached our commitments in terms of like the plants online, and so you know there's not a need anymore. But apparently, just talking to Willis and Laura and others, there's still issues with the plant and other things, including this biogas operation. It's still not, you know, the gas is just being burned. It's not being utilized. So I don't know, maybe it's something I will follow up at a future meeting, or, you know, to talk about. William, did you just have another question or another?
Yeah, it's a little bit related to Parks Department. Yesterday, with people, because I'm into pickleball, I have the folks that represent it nationally, and also conversation with Mary from Parks regarding that asphalt field next to the tennis courts that's utilized by everybody. So last night evening, I went there, and we had over 100 people playing pickleball. And I remember there was some issues, environmental concerns about that area that had to be done first before they start repaving it. Can you refresh my memories? I know there was something with the flooding, and I do
Well,
believe there used to be a gasoline station, something like that. My memory is not 100%.
No, what was the former manufacturing gas plant went all the way from, you know, where 50 Kent is.
Yep.
You know, Bushwick in the Park includes 25 Kent and the William Vale and the buildings in front of it on Berry. And so the question is, does that contamination continue under that asphalt? So
Gotcha. That's what I thought, but I want to have more accurate for me because my neighbors are all asking what does it take, and I said it's a lot of layers. There's environmental issue as well as capital spending, but I wasn't 100% about the environmental. So thank you.
Yes, and I think, yeah, I've heard there's flooding issues too. But
Because I remember telling them, you know, we want trees there for rain gardens, you know, and etc. And has to be tilted. But yeah, okay, I appreciate it.
Someone, I think on Greenpoint Natives Facebook, someone posted an old picture of McCarran Park in the early, like the 1900s, and you could see the, what do you call the gasometer? You know, the huge tank. It was right there across the street. So.
And this is just another question to my dear colleagues. It's something that's been, especially when we get this new swearing in of, you know, of community board members, and we have people that are relatively unfamiliar about the history of the neighborhood, the institutional knowledge that you guys have. You should do some formal documentation of these issues, and so that we can ourselves internally educate our new members. You know, I just because I actually had community board members asking me this question, but I don't want to out them out because they've been here before I have. But it's within our own house. I think we need to do some internal education, and especially these issues that here in North Brooklyn we are impacted so much by all the pollutions. Every community board member should have a better understanding that they have right now. It shouldn't be just us, at the front lines. That's just a thought.
That's interesting. How do we, present the history? We're hoping that people join the board and they join this committee. They've done their homework, but yeah, I don't know. That's,
And we have a lot of people that are still,
Well,
I'm
what
just
about,
conscious. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Doesn't North Brooklyn Neighbors have mapping of what's going on and where it's going on? And don't they have resources on their website?
Well, that's what I was thinking, is just having links to, significant organizations involved with that. The Newtown Creek Alliance, then Newtown Creek CAG, North Brooklyn Neighbors, El Puente, just other groups that have been steeped in, these long-standing environmental issues in the neighborhood.
Because I was thinking about Steve and Trina. We went to a Fuente exhibit as well as the Greenpoint Library. I mean, I was amazed how many strong neighbors we have, particularly women. And I don't know. I would love to sit down and see if we can do this and share that information, with our federal community board members and committee members. I think it's
Or maybe
important.
there's, in the resource tab of the website, could be, important environmental links to those organizations, and like to the ExxonMobil spill site, and to, the Superfund sites.
I mean, we have Laura here. She's always as amazes me the research she does. I mean, we got the talent. So anyway, I think we should mold it over, and I'm not tech savvy, but I'll do the legwork.
People would look to the community board because they don't know about those organizations. And so it would be great if the community board could have links that can lead people to those. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because
Okay.
it's
But in all honesty, the environmental committee is number one in getting things done and being on top of stuff. So we're the ones gonna have to set the standard.
Oh yeah.
And,
What about parks? What about land use?
I think.
No, I love those committees, transportations, but really, I sit in transportation and land use and landmarks. And this committee's got their A game all the time. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow.
No disrespect to anybody else.
Hey, Laura.
I did find a link for the commission, so the comments are until November 14th, if you want to do them in writing.
That's great. Thank you. I'll include that in the report. You're
welcome.
Where are you seeing that link? Where can we, is there someplace we can send people? Is it on DEC site or?
Yeah, I was actually trying to share it, but I couldn't. How about I email it to you?
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the comment function's turned off. So,
Okay.
yeah, great. Yeah, I was beginning to look that up and then got back in the discussion here. Okay. Anything else? I think we've kept Joanna long enough here.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Chesler. I did send a request that came in today to the full board. Is regarding 325 Kent Avenue. It's about a waste, a revocable consent for RP, new to construct, maintain and use proposed 12 wastewater pipe together with 2 cleanouts and pressure relief. And the comments are due by October 29.
Yeah.
That's dominant.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think part of it is, they're going to be treating wastewater on site. So I have a feeling it's related to that they, they can treat and release, I think, certain types of water rather than have it go into the sewer system, go back to Newtown Creek and then back. But yeah, I saw that. I just figured, I don't know how, Ideally, it'd be great to have a presentation, but we don't have time to meet and have the board vote on it before the comment period. So thank you for reminding us about that one.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, I'll take a deeper look at it, you guys too. And if we need to, like, something pass during the full board meeting, maybe we can do that. But I seem to remember that's what it's related to. But can double check. I'll double check and necessarily ask for more information from the those who communicated that to us. Okay. All right. Well, hey guys, thanks a lot.
Thanks,
for
Steve.
attending tonight. And Joanna, thank you so much for holding down the fort here tonight. And
Tonight
You're
and every
welcome.
night, Joanna.
and every
Thank
I know
you.
every night. We're really grateful for what you're doing. So
Thank you.
all right. So guess motion to adjourn.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
night,
Everyone,
Everyone.
Good night.
good night.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye.